Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Microphone check for everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4. Microphone check for everyone. Can you hear me?
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
Listen away.
What's the best place for the interpreter so we have it on video?
I guess you probably want to ask them. You guys prefer she be the interpreter? Where's the best place for you guys? Doesn't matter? Okay.
Are you guys all ready? Thank you for being here. My name is Tony Spurlock. I'm the Sheriff of Douglas County. This is a sad day for the Douglas County Sheriff's Office and for the citizens of Douglas County in the state of Colorado. Earlier this morning, around 5 o'clock, officers were called to a residence, 3400 block of County Line, on a disturbance. Once they were there, they were met with gunfire from the suspect. 4 officers were injured, and 1 officer was killed in the line of duty. We will be giving you some photographs of the officers through my PIO staff after this conference here. But I want to mention a couple. Things. The 2 other citizens, civilians, were injured in this as well, and they are non-life-threatening injuries. But our hearts and prayers go out to them as well as just regular people trying to live their life disrupted by this individual. So a total of 5 officers were involved in this situation, and 1 deceased suspect. The only thing I'm going to talk about the suspect at this point, because we do not have him positively identified through the coroner's office. We are familiar with him, and more information will come out a little bit later once we've positively identified him. The officers that were injured, and I'll give you their status here real quickly. Deputy Mike Doyle, who's a 28-year-old deputy sheriff. He's in stable condition at a local hospital. Deputy Taylor Davis, 30-year-old deputy sheriff, is in stable condition at a local hospital. Deputy Jeffrey Pelly, 32-year-old officer who just got out of surgery, and I was told he was in stable condition as well. And then CRPD officer Tom O'Donnell, 41-year-old, who was in stable condition as well. The officer who was killed in the line of duty is Zachary Parrish, a 29-year-old deputy. He had worked for us for about 7 months. He had worked at the Castle Rock Police Department for a little more than 2 years. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. I spent some time with his wife. I can't tell you how difficult it is for a leader to sit down with the spouse of an officer who was killed in the line of duty. They had many hopes and dreams, and he was doing his job. He was doing his job well, and his life was taken from us this morning. I want to thank the men and women of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office for responding to this and doing a great job of containing it and trying to keep other civilians from being injured. You see behind me is a lot of partners that have been helping me through this. The Castle Rock Police Department, Parker Police Department, Colorado State Patrol, my staff, the district attorney. We've been in close contact with his office on search warrants, etc. And so there's a lot of people that were helping us. I can't even name and I don't want to name all of the agencies that came to assist us. I will tell you that the Aurora Police Chief met me at the hospital. There were a number of sheriffs that showed up at the hospital to provide support. They also sent resources. This is going to be a several-day investigation, as you can imagine. So I asked the community to have patience with us. We've essentially locked down that apartment complex on County Line Road. There were well over 100 rounds fired in this engagement. The 100 rounds was from the suspect. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done yet for us to determine where we're at with this investigation. I finally want to say that we are deeply saddened by the loss of Zachary. When I sat with his wife and held her hand, I could see in her eyes her life was over. And I've been a blessed sheriff. I've had wonderful things happen to me, wonderful savings. My deputies have been shot, ran over, and they've survived. It was very difficult today to go see Zach the last time. I thank all the citizens, and I really thank the people that have come to this station here and the outpouring of support. They brought food and stuff. My detectives will be working around the clock, as will detectives from the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, the 18 Judicial District support units that are helping us. So there'll be a lot of folks here eating that, so I thank you for doing that, and I thank you for your prayers. I ask you for that again. It's not a simple thing. It is a very meaningful thing to pray for Zach's family. They're still coming into town, and his wife and his two little people. So I'll answer a few questions. A lot of stuff that we're not going to share at this point, and I apologize right up front. So I'll do a few things, do a few questions if you have some.
Sheriff, can you give us just a sense of the timeline, how long this unfolded, and how you finally brought it to a conclusion with the suspect being shot?
We responded to the residents at 5:14 this morning on a verbal disturbance, and it was almost immediately after that, upon arrival of the officers, the shooting took place. The officers were injured and were extricating themselves away from the apartment complex. And then other officers came in and we maintained and secured it. The suspect continued to shoot at officers for some time until he was engaged by officers and was killed.
Was that a SWAT team, or was that
It was members of a joint task force unit. We do have a regional SWAT team that all these guys up here are part of, and so the officers that were involved in the actual shooting, their names aren't being released, obviously, at this point because the investigation is still ongoing, but they are part of a regional task force.
Can you tell us exactly was the first one of the first ones on scene, so we can understand why you got so many people got shot?
The 4 officers all arrived at the same time, and they went into the house at the same time and contacted him in a bedroom portion of the apartment complex. And the sequence of the officers who was shot first, I don't have that available. We'll hopefully get some body cam footage that will help me answer some of those questions. Although I do know that all of them were shot very, very quickly, and they all went down almost within seconds of each other. So it was more of an ambush type of attack on our officers. He knew we were coming, and we obviously let him know that we were there to investigate the disturbance. And so I don't have any other particulars on.
what kind of weapons, Sheriff?
When you said that you guys are familiar with him, and you said you can't say much more, but can you give us an idea of how many calls to that apartment you've had in the past, or how well are you familiarized with this particular suspect?
If it's who we believe it is, we know that he has had law enforcement contact on a number of occasions. I was told just a few moments ago that there was no criminal history, so he has had encounters with law enforcement throughout the metro area, and that's about the only thing I can say right now.
What kind of weapons, Sheriff?
That is still being determined by the investigators. We do know that it was rifle, and other than that, I can't tell you.
Can you tell us more about Zachary and his children, please?
Yeah, I will. I'll come right back to you, Anastasia. What was that?
Was this a domestic violence incident? And generally speaking, were those the most violent type of incidents that you've dealt with?
Well, yes, they are. Domestic violence investigations are very, very dangerous. When the officers arrived at the apartment, they quickly figured out that that there was some kind of unfortunate circumstance that was taking place in that apartment, and immediately started to investigate it, and that's when they were shot.
Can you tell us more about Zachary? I know he worked with you for a short time, but how old are his children, and why did he come work for you?
why he chose to come to work for us. He worked for a great police department. He came from Castle Rock Police Department, and loved it there. And they're a great agency, and so he chose to come over to Douglas County. His children are young. That's all I'm going to say at this point right now. But he has 2 very young children, and his wife. They have a great support system in place. Obviously, with the holidays, there were a lot of people here available to them, and we have resources available to her as well and the children.
Sheriff, you said that the first call you arrived at about 5:15 or 5:13, and then I believe the shooting didn't start till about 5:55, 5:56, somewhere in there. If I'm right on that timeline, correct me if I'm not. But what was going on in that amount of time before the shooting started?
What I know about that, I don't have the particulars on the time available to me, but I do know that the officers were engaging him. They were having conversation. They were trying to talk to him. They were talking to other persons or person that was at the apartment complex. And so they were conducting an investigation. And during that time is when he chose to barricade himself into a bedroom.
And did they know of the previous call history?
Yes. Yes.
Why
Yes.
did they choose to go into the house? Were there hostages or something? Why did they choose to go into the house?
There were no hostages. They were let in the house by either the other person that lives there or him. I don't know the particulars on that, but they were let into the house to conduct their investigation.
Could you tell us at which point your department sent a reverse 911 call to the area? How long after this happened? If there was a lag, why was there a lag?
Good question. I have no answer. I don't know. If there was a lag in the reverse 911, we'll look into it. I don't know that. I do know that we do send out 911s, and I don't know the particulars on what the message was sent. I do know that officers were working to try to get people that were on either side of the apartment complex evacuated, but the time frame on the reverse 911, I can't answer that.
I know it's early in the investigation, but is there one thing that was said or happened that escalated into this person shooting at your deputies, or was the shooting immediate upon their arrival?
No, and I don't know if there was anything that escalated it, of why he chose to do that. Those officers will be interviewed as soon as they're able to be out of the hospital, and we can get more information on what led to him barricading himself and shooting at the officers.
Just 2 clarifications. One, that the officers were wearing body cams.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 2, did you say how many people were in the apartment at the time of the response?
I believe just 2.
2 people. No
2.
children?
No children.
And so who called you guys?
A neighbor called the noise disturbance.
So it was not a domestic group, because that's what you guys have been saying.
Well, it's not a male, female, domestic. It was a disturbance at the house. We originally got it as a domestic, but when the officers got there, they quickly learned that it wasn't a husband-wife or partner type of thing, and that was part of their investigation. But it was originally called in as a domestic, and then quickly learned that it was a disturbance.
What sort of disturbance is just so generic there? Was it a fight? Was there an apartment?
The suspect was just making a ton of noise and annoying everyone around him.
Sheriff, I understand one of your deputies in this incident was separated from the others and was actually in the apartment with the suspect, which must be an agonizing thing. But can you tell us how long that deputy was before he was rescued?
I don't have the exact time frame, but yes, he was. When he was shot and went down, the other officers went down right around him, and they tried to pull him out, but they were unable to due to their injuries. And so they were able to crawl to safety. He was not conscious, and so they weren't able to talk to him or to get him out. And the suspect continued shooting at the officers over Zach. So the time frame, how long it was before we went in there and got Zach, and eventually was engaged with the suspect and shot and killed him. I can get to that time frame. I don't have it available.
Sheriff, can you clarify the two civilians? One in the apartment with the suspect and one is a neighbor. You mentioned there was just two inside the apartment when the police showed up.
Now there was two separate people, not the person involved in the disturbance.
Sheriff, 2 men inside the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the civilians who were injured, were they in other apartments? Were they bystanders? How did that?
I believe they were in other apartments, but I need to clarify that to lock that in for you.
Sheriff, were your deputies aware that there might be friends in the apartment and respond to the call when they come back?
We respond to every call anticipating that everyone has a gun. This is Colorado. Everybody has a gun. And so we anticipate that when we respond to them that people have guns, and we address that in that fashion. I don't know if there was any lead-in information that there were guns until they encountered it. And at that point, it was too late for them to, make any further assessments.
Sheriff, we know that 4 people were taken to Littleton Venice. One of the 3 people taken to Skyridge, I was told, as law enforcement officer. Who was taken to?
That was the Castle Rock police officer that was taken to Skyridge. You had a question?
So the 2 men inside the apartment when you responded, one of them being the suspect, the other one, what was his relationship to the suspect? Were these roommates, family members? They both lived there, presumably?
They were just roommates. He's cooperating in the investigation fully.
And he has not been injured?
He was not injured.
How long when the first shot started until that joint team was able to go in there and take out the suspect?
7:30, so 5:45 to 7:30.
Was Zach, were you able to take out Zach at 7:30?
A little before that, yes.
Was he already deceased at the point?
Yes, he was.
Do you know if he died? I know it's the coroner, but
I talked to, and I don't want to speak on behalf of the coroner, but I did talk to the emergency room physician that attended him at the hospital, and I did that so I could go meet with his wife to tell her, how long he was there. And really, I got to worry about my officers who backed out, and they think their partners inside. The physician said that he had no ability to survive the injuries that he was hit. He was hit multiple times, and the locations he was hit would not have been able to save his life.
Sheriff, you guys, yes, people say you signed up for this job. However, it feels like Detective Wright was yesterday, but a year ago. He survived. How does a department deal with such difficult events and such loss in such a short amount of time?
Well, I have good friends standing behind me who have been through this before, and I have good support mechanism through the county, and that's where it's very, very important. Commissioner Dave Weaver, who used to be my boss, came and was there, support. So it's great to have a support mechanism to help us, because this is not something that you can go to school to learn how to do. So I've been asking them all questions about, am I doing the right thing? The key here is taking care of Zach's family, and then taking care of the family of the officers and the officers who survived this, and make sure that we can get through it on the other side, and continue to do what we do best, and that is provide a public service to the people of Douglas County, try to keep them safe, try to eradicate this type of behavior. And that's what these officers will do in the middle of the night. They go to these calls hundreds of times, and they all turn out okay. Unfortunately, tonight did not. It didn't turn out okay for Zach and for the other officers. So I have a lot of support mechanism, a lot of folks here. My command staff are at my side all the time. And really what we're trying to do right now is to figure out how we can put together a farewell service to Deputy Zachary Parrish and the service that he did for the citizens of Douglas County.
Were all of your deputies wearing vests?
Yes, ma'am.
And where was the 5th deputy when he was shot? We're assuming also that all of them are men, so forgive me, is there a woman in this?
There is a female, and that's Taylor Davis, female officer. They were all wearing vests, and rounds all struck them outside the area where the vest was at, or in areas where the vest doesn't cover.
And the fifth deputy, because didn't you say the 4 originally responded?
Yeah, the Castle Rock police officer, I'm not sure where he was injured. I don't know exactly where he was injured. He was shot in the leg.
And did that happen after the fact? Responding? I was told that he's a SWAT officer, right?
Yeah, that was, I believe that was when they were engaging him to go rescue Zach.
Sheriff, could you just address, give us a sense of just the speed and the level of violence that occurred here? It's obviously hard for those of us who have done well to fathom what happens when you have 5 officers standing there and one person gets the drug home.
There's a lot that's going to come out of this investigation, and we will look into that on what was going on in that room. Like I said, we'll examine body cam, but initial interviews with the officers, they were doing exactly what we do in every other disturbance call. And people have guns in their homes, and once they barricade themselves, you can almost always assume that there's a gun there. And so the situation, went very quickly once the officers could no longer negotiate with him, could no longer talk to him. This happens a lot in these types of calls.
I know it's the worst on your watch. Is this the worst day in the department's history?
Well, losing an officer is you can't put one above the other. And I've been here 37 years and have lost friends in the line of duty. You mentioned a detective that was shot just a little bit more than a year and a half ago. That's difficult. It's never easy to lose one of your deputy sheriffs. It is the first for me as a sheriff to have an officer who was killed in the line of duty, and that is why I lean on my partners that are here to help guide me through this, and my friends in the community. This is a tragic day, and this is a tragic day that we'll be feeling for a long time. Zach was a good kid, a smiley kid. Go up and down the halls, you could see his face. He was eager to work and eager to serve. His wife told me today that he loved this job more than he had loved any job he'd ever had. So you get a kid like that that's just loving to serve, and unfortunately he was called today.
Sheriff, you said that the roommate let you into the apartment, or let your officers into the apartment, is that correct?
I don't have that information. I can get that for you. I don't know who let who in.
So just to clarify, he lived in the apartment?
Yeah, two males lived in the apartment complex. And I can tell you this, we didn't kick any door down or anything like that. Somebody let us in, and then we were engaged in a situation.
Sheriff, can you share any details of that final half hour before the gunman was shot? Anything you know at this point, realizing it's preliminary?
I know that we were doing what we could to secure the neighborhood and putting officers in place, snipers and other tactical officers in place to secure that area in the event that it went mobile or he got out. And so there was a lot of work happening. We had a lot of resources. Officers from a lot of law enforcement agencies responded to assist us in this. And they were making plans to go in and extract Zach and try to do it in the most safest possible way while the suspect was continuing to shoot at officers. So there was a plan to deal with someone who was shooting at him and to do a officer rescue. They put that plan together very quickly and I think very efficiently. And at some point, the suspect engaged officers and was shot and killed.
So Zach was the first one in?
I don't know who was the first one in. I can't tell you that. I don't.
You said that the roommate was cooperating with the investigation. Can you talk a little bit about how he's helping you and what he's told you?
All I can say is he met with detectives just a few moments ago and is cooperating with all their questions.
You said the suspect engaged with officers at some point. Was he inside the apartment? Did he come outside the apartment?
He engaged him inside the apartment.
Will there be charges filed against the roommate?
That's too early for me to tell.
Sure, that should recover the reasonably was semi-automatic or automatic?
I don't have that information yet. That scene is still locked down. We're waiting for search warrants and other issues that we have to go through. And then once we have that, we'll have that information I'll share it. I just don't have that right now.
Are neighbors allowed back in their homes yet?
Yes, neighbors are allowed except for the immediate location, and I think that we're working with folks that live there to try to get them back into their apartments that are adjacent.
Again, trying to understand those last few minutes. You said it was inside the apartment. Apartments generally are not very large, Sheriff. So did your deputies enter the apartment and then the shootout started? What can you tell us about?
They had entered the apartment and was having dialogue with him. There was conversation. I don't know what that is until we can look at the body cam. But they were talking to him and calling out and asking him questions. Yes, and what was that? Yes, he was in a adjacent bedroom.
Sheriff, you mentioned that law enforcement had been to this residence before. Have they been there earlier this morning before that 5 o'clock call? Or?
Yes, we were. We were there earlier around 1:30 on a noise complaint. But when the officers arrived, there was no noise, and they couldn't find any evidence that there was any kind of issue going on. So they left, which again happens all the time.
And forgive me, and maybe you've answered this. How much?
We're actually not going to be taking any more questions. We will be putting out a press release here shortly. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact us, and we'll answer everything that we can.
Can you go over one more time the names of the officers and which agency they were with? Deputy Mike Doyle?
Yes, Deputy Mike Doyle, Douglas County Sheriff. Taylor Davis, Douglas County Sheriff. Jeffrey Pelly, Douglas County Sheriff. And Officer Tom O'Donnell, Castle Rock Police Department. And then Zachary Parrish, Douglas County Sheriff. Pardon me? Pelly? P-E-L-L-E. Pelly.
The first name of Davis, please?
Taylor?
Taylor, T-A-Y-L-O-R.
Yes, ma'am.
And to clarify, that your officer, Castle Rock's officer, was he shot outside or within the perimeter after all this happened?
We don't know exactly that information yet until we finish conducting the investigation. And as Lauren has said, if you have any further questions, you can try to get what you can off of our press release. We probably will not be doing another stand-up like this. Information will come out through our press release, through either Twitter or Facebook.
Would you consider one tomorrow, maybe, sir?
No, we won't be doing another one. Yeah. We'll share the status of the officers, but that's it. Okay. Thank you all very much, and I appreciate your time.